This is Bob. Bob is a simple man. He enjoys simple things. For example, Bob likes farming. However, in the wasteland, farming is very dangerous. So, how does Bob deal with this situation? Well, there's two ways. He can either deal with the situation with his own hands, or he can build defenses and get settlers to help him. Obviously, one way is much smarter, but the other one has a really good video idea. So the main question is, are we able to turn this desolate place of what you call a few buildings into a thriving, populated settlement? So at the start, we'll be starting with absolutely nothing, for the only items we're actually able to use are those inside Sunshine Tining Co-op. And also, I'll allow any location that's either directly nearby or very close nearby. I'm allowed to use items from that. Anyways, let's talk about Sunshine Tidings. There's nothing really much in this place. In the middle of it, there is a single robot, Professor Goodfeels, which despawns very fast since he doesn't count actually part of the settlement. And every single house is pretty much inhabitable. There isn't that much space. Most settlers can't even find their path finding into there. And for example, this place doesn't even have a back of it. But we'll try and turn this place into a thriving settlement throughout this entire video. Will I be able to do it? Yeah, probably. Is it going to be extremely hard? You better believe it. It's also interesting to note that there isn't that much variety of containers in this area. There are a few houses that have fairly valuable things, either by dead bodies you can loot off or dresses with outfits you're able to loot from. And there is a couple houses that have really good stuff. As you see in this clip, this is the only house that actually had useful stuff. And there was no point showing everything else because there was absolutely nothing we could actually use. Which was great for starting up this run, huh? However, we did get a few semi-decent weapons, which did somewhat help in the early run of it. And after defeating the rest of the ghouls in the area, I immediately went to scrapping everything I could to get as much resources as possible. The main item we're trying to get in this situation, however, is the recruitment beacon, which uses two very rare and hard to find resources, circuitry and crystal. Circuitry you can find easily in any sort of digital item or object that's scrappable. However, crystal's much harder and rare to find, so if you're doing one of these runs, you better hope that you grind a lot and you try to guard and get as much crystal as possible. Also, you may have seen from an intro, but for some reason my game glitched out for the rest of the save. I tried restarting. My character just permanently has a broken arm now. Neat. I also discovered that there are actually enemy storms very nearby the area, which I used to get pretty good, decent loot. And going a bit further south from down there, there's this little chapel that had a good amount of resources in there that I can take. But even after all these scrapping, I managed to get circuitry, but I have no crystal. So, guess I gotta start grinding now, huh? But a good thing to note, on this little dam bridge area, is actually a random encounter that spawns. So I made sure to use this throughout the entire run to get some resources. I didn't get anything else, it was just a bunch of raiders which gave me some armor and weapons. Yeah, you already know a lot of hours was slept during this run. Also waiting too. Also, something strange occurred, which I'm not sure if it's a random event or not, but the raider bodies here resetted their loot, but nothing else changed, which I thought was strange. After getting better weapons, ammo, and armor, I decided that I might be strong enough to take on the gunners over by the bridge here, which I swiftly did, but didn't fully think about it since I immediately died on the way up. I eventually wiped out the place and got a few useful pieces of scrap, but still no crystal yet. I eventually thought with the amount of resources I get, if I leveled up Scrapper, then I might have the chance to get crystal, but with my knowledge of Fallout, I wasn't entirely sure if that was actually going to work. So I just continued grinding, getting experience any way I possibly could. But I know you definitely don't want to watch all that grinding, so here's a montage video I made of it instead. So, after what actually is hours and hours of footage, I eventually got my way to get some crystal, or just enough crystal, to make the radio beacon, and finally I can get to actually work improving the settlement. So, I immediately started to work on the necessities, like improving the amount of defense that the place has, and also decided to build a nice little merchant area where I'm eventually in the future going to put all my stalls and such for my settlers, which as you can see I already have 3 of. The first few always spawn very fast, but the other ones take a while to spawn.
Hi.
Looking for a haircut?
Yeah, all right.
Time for a new look, huh? Sit down, and I'll get started.
Always remember to keep on the grind to get experience, because we need to fully upgrade the local leader to actually make good things in this settlement. Which, you know, fun, isn't it? Luckily, slowly but surely, we've kept on increasing our farm because that's where we're going to get most of our food and money from. And also adding more and more decor and lights to the entire thing, just improving the whole thing by quite a majority compared to what it was before. This includes a lot of sleeping. Also, just in case you're wondering, yes, my character still has a broken arm. And it's only on this save. Every single other save is fine except for this one singular character. So I guess that's just a motive of the character. As you can see, I built a chair in front of the farm so I can at least see it grow in real time. A lot of time was spent waiting just for more and more food to grow. But luckily, if you trade with settlers, they're able to sometimes give you food. And because of that, I've been able to at least get a few unique things, like gourds and potatoes, while meat, fruit, and corn were already widely grown there. And I decided to move more beds into that open area, because, you know, you'd at least have one designated building to be useful for something. However, there's one small issue with the fact of how much we're expanding our farm. Because we now have tons of food, we're actually able to get frequent raider raids. While they're only small and might actually just be enemies spawning nearby, we still have constant enemies that we have to deal with now. Luckily our defenses can dispatch them really easily.
Just looking to trade a little.
So that's it, huh? God, look at all the flow.
Luckily all my workers are extremely dedicated, they're even working through rad storms. Obviously, you know, you can't have a building montage without an exercising montage, so you know, that's right, cue the music. Let's get this underway then. Is this part filler? Yeah, basically, but I need something to do with this footage. But anyways, aside from that, guess it's time for another long montage then. Huh? Why not? Hey, sorry to interrupt, but this montage has to cut short because my settlement just got under attack by a huge raid.
Hey.
Thanks for your help, pal.
I didn't want you to
I
have
literally
trouble.
did all this with
That's
a
what we
broken
call
arm.
fun.
Amazing.
I'm glad you're on our side. Anyway, we appreciate the help.
However, a good positive of this is now my character has a full set of metal armor, which is good. Also, my ghoul pile disappeared, which I didn't get to show me building it, so I decided to restock it with the raider corpses that I got from the raid. Not really a ghoul pile now, is it though? It's also good to know that my settlers actually use the gym, which is good to know. But on to some better news. After planting more and more, I finally got enough experience to finally level up the local leader perk again. Immediately after that, I built a trading shop where we can finally go into business since we have infinite resources now. Also, we have ghost gym workers. Strange. Luckily, the farms can give us tons of resources and foods that we can sell to buy basically any amount of junk that we really want and can build with.
I need to assign someone to this.
Don't much care for good neighbor.
It's also good to mention that the store itself also generates caps based on the amount of population you have. So, with all this excess resource we have now, I decided to build a nice additional area, which as you can see from that counter there, this is the little bar area, another relaxing place for my settlers to go. So, after putting the lights into the bar, because I had tons of resources, I was able to decorate by putting more bags now for new settlers, putting flags or mounted creatures on the wall, or even signs both inside and outside of the different areas that I built. It's a small detail, but it's a nice one at that. After buying some more steel from the trader, we built one of the prefabs from the scaffolding gallery, and after placing that down, I built a giant windmill on top of it to mark the prosperity of our new amazing settlement, and it's beautiful. So, we now have trading to infinite resources, to the scavenging we had to do beforehand, to having a large and prosperous farm which gives us tons of money and food every day, from the little scraps and dry landscape that was before,
Did you need
to having tons of settlers that can help us with any jobs, with defenses, food, bar, or even trading, to having scraps of houses. But luckily, we managed to improve this place to a beautiful, prosperous place. Hope you enjoyed this. I know this is only a short run, but that's just because I wanted to do something a little different and fun. There's another much bigger Fallout video coming out now. In the background, you will just see a bunch of footage of the little areas that
Hey.
I didn't give too much detail to, which you're able to see now to the end of this. But if you have any other run ideas, or maybe in fact another settlement area that you want me to build up to make a beautiful settlement out of it, make sure to comment that or say something about it, and it'll definitely get my attention.
Hey.
And if I comment on that, or make sure to heart your comment, then you definitely know that a video like that is in the works. Anyways, enjoy the rest of the little gameplay footage I have here.
Go ahead, sit down. We can get started as soon as you sit in the chair.